What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 7, Episode 4. And it's called Chapter 121, Love and Marriage.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the end of the podcast. We're going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines, your guys' recap roundup. So stick around for the end of the podcast to listen to that.
As always, we're to continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let us get into this episode.
Love and marriage. Love and marriage.
Love and marriage. It truly was like that.
What did
episode.
You think?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. There were so many great conclusions. We're moving the story forward. We got some surprise romances by the end of the episode, which I'm very excited to talk to you about.
I'm so excited.
Some that we didn't really need. Just calling it out right now. I think you can probably assume which one I'm talking about. But otherwise, I think it was a great episode to really like take all the problems from episode 1 to 3 and then like kind of conclude most of them. What did you think?
No, I 100% agree. I can't believe we're on episode 4 already.
Yeah.
And quick. I think, we've said this whole season. I am blown away at how good this show is right now. Like, I wish I could call everyone back that like dipped off at season 3 or 4 and we're guys, come back because it's literally so good. There's no tree monsters. There's no like eating people organ like cults. Is so good.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job with this season.
It's so like organic. Everything that's happened is just so organically like happening, and like it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel out of place for the most part. Like even Kevin's like storyline, just like it's so beautiful. Like I'm just like, guys, like where were we for like 5 years? Like this is amazing.
Where have you been all this time?
Where have you? I'm loving it. I'm truly loving it. And just even beyond like where we are in this season, the writing is so perfect. And I'm honestly like truly impressed. I'm like, I don't know if it's like a whole new writing team or that you guys were just like, now this is like real life. Let's like actually
like
start
pull
writing.
out all the stops. Like, let's go. Like this is the end. So like, let's finish this.
But I watch it and I'm like, this is like a new show. It really feels like that. So it
really feels like what Riverdale could have been like from seasons 2 to 7.
Yeah.
Really. Like staying in the high school, cuts to the drama. Really quickly want to call it this one shot where like it goes from one couple, I think it was like Archie and Cheryl at Pop's Diner, and then the camera literally pans over to like the next booth where like Veronica and Jughead are sitting and talking, and I'm like, this is what we needed.
I missed that.
We didn't have those like connections and like them all staying in the same space. It was always like cut to this and cut to this murder and
like
cut
Cheryl's over here and Sabrina's over here coming into the show. Like they're here. It's like, what's going on?
Keep it together, girls.
And what's surprising me is that, not that I'm surprised, because like I think we've always said this, but like we're still in high school and there's so much content to cover still. Like the episode was halfway done and I was like, I feel like this has been the longest episode, because not that it was like dragging on, but like there's so much happening in these little scenes that I feel like it's such a rich episode full of different moments that like, I don't know. Some of the episodes in last seasons, like they go by so fast, and I'm like, wait, what did we just watch? Like it was like too much. And I don't know. There's something that's like very grounded about this season, where like every scene is just so purposely there, and like it feels like that. And I'm loving it. I have honestly nothing bad to say. Like I have questions, obviously, like what's gonna happen with so and so, but like nothing bad to say.
Yeah, great episode. I'm excited to get into it with you. So let's do it. So it starts off at Riverdale High. Obviously cutting up from end of last episode. Jughead and Ethel are in the principal's office being interrogated by the sheriff. And they're trying to answer the questions the best they can. Basically like, where did this drawing come from? Why did you have it? And, Jughead's like, like it looks sketchy, whatever. And then Sheriff Keller says, like, let's just go to the office, like sheriff's office. Like, we need to talk deeper, heavier. So one thing I do want to ask you, and like, this is just a random thought that I just had, but everybody has a parent, you know, like some parents who didn't exist before are even in this world.
Yeah.
Jughead is completely devoid.
Oh my God. I'm so
devoid.
Happy you brought this up.
Why?
No, literally, it's like baffling. He went home, like he doesn't even have a home. It's like a freaking hole in the side of the road.
Car, yeah.
And I'm like, this poor kid, like he should be like traumatized and like a different person. Like, how is he so normal? He lives in like a hole in the wall and like he has no parents to go home to, nobody that like cares about him, no one that checks up on him to be like, son, are you okay? Like the cops are like, I just felt so sorry for him. Like
the fact that he even goes to school to begin with is like a miracle, in my opinion.
That's
like,
what I'm saying. Like,
what is your like pull to go back to school? And he has an
animal. He has a house pet. Like he takes care of him. He has responsibilities. Like,
girl,
like
I don't know.
Not Jughead becoming like the MVP of the season.
Yeah, like he's really pushing through as a teenage student. Like bro,
and then like getting a whole new ship that like we're down for.
Yeah, like what is happening up in this gig? Yeah, but like I am a little disappointed that they didn't even refer to the fact that like maybe FP is like gonna do like
100%.
Like they've even referred to other parents and said like they're here or there or whatever, but like he is literally devoid of any familial connections.
My dad, what a loser! Like he's not even home right now. Like someone in our live tweet last week when we were doing the podcast, they were like, is FP gonna come back? Because like Hiram is coming back at some point,
returning. Yeah,
you know, will FP make it back for whatever? And maybe he will, maybe he won't. But the point is like, even if he doesn't come back for one episode, like the void is still there. Like Jughead could have clearly just said like, hey, my dad's like away right now or something to allude to that. But like he does feel so alone and like sort of not like a realistic storyline, because like how is this child like surviving on his own? Like you know,
like Ethel Muggs became orphaned and she ended up in an like she ended up at Sisters of Quiet Mercy. Like why is he like skirting being living by himself like as an independent kid? And who knows? I mean, maybe we will get those answers now that he has a relationship to attach his backstory to in this world. Like, we don't really know, like, what we'll get now that, you know, him and Veronica have a lot more to talk about. So well, I guess we'll see, but I hope that they do answer that question soon.
It's an
because in the other world he had a mom, even though she wasn't in the picture. He had left, his sister, you know, like she came into the picture at one point. So like the fact that he has nothing is a little off, like it is a little jarring in comparison to the rest of the characters.
Especially because like I feel like they're so much more strict in this universe. Like the principals are so much more strict. They'd be like, where are your parents? Like who do you even live with? And also, like, I don't know if they mention this in this season, but like, how does he know all of these like pop culture things? Like, how does he know about like history of like film and like, does he say that? Because like,
no, I guess
kind
it's
of
just
like you would
interest.
know that if like you like had parents like who like watched those films or like talked about it or something like.
Or he was just like into books and stuff.
Yeah,
like, he's just like interested in books.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really understand why he doesn't have much more to offer on that side of things. Yeah. And I'm interested to see if that becomes a part of the storyline. Because even when he gets released from jail, like he gets released from jail like on his own accord.
Like a minor.
But then Ethel had to like get signed out by the Coopers.
Yeah.
So like I
is
don't know.
Odd. There's something.
A little bit of an inconsistency there, and hopefully they cover that at some point soon.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we finished one sentence out of the 100 sentences that I wrote. But Veronica asks how everybody's doing, like, 'cause she ends up at the jail, I think, right? No, I think, does that happen right now? I don't think so.
Was it at the jail or was it like right after?
I think maybe she sees them. I wrote down Veronica asks how they're doing. I don't know.
She does though, but I think maybe at the school.
Maybe a little bit later, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then that happens. Then it cuts to Julian approaching Archie in the locker rooms, and he's like, why would you do that to my sister? So answering the question that you had last episode, like, did they go all the way? Like, what happened there? Is that going to be something that's going to come up later? And it does. Archie basically says, like, I don't know what like Cheryl's talking about. Like we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And And so he goes back to talk to Cheryl about it. He's like, girl, like, what are you saying to people? Like,
you
what's happening
lying.
here?
Why you lying?
And she essentially like right away is like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, I need your help. Like she's like, my family is doing all this stuff. Like just agree to lie with me and like, you know, everything will be fine. And she does kind of make the promise like it's a white lie because like eventually we will get to those things because we're still in a relationship. But right now you just need to like kind of go along with it. And he's like, okay, cool. Yeah. By the way, I just loved Archie this episode. I loved him.
I mean, can I love this man more?
Can I? Kid. Oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Then it cuts to Betty and Kevin talking outside, and he gives the book back that she gave him, the sexuality book back. Yeah. And he says, he's like, yeah, I read it, but I just want to wait till marriage. Like, just leaves it at that. And Betty's like, well, you know, this is my relationship too. And I think I should have some say. She's like, I do not want to be steady with you anymore. So she just dips. She walks away. Yeah. And I guess they're done. Like that's her.
But she breaks up with him. She's like, we're done. Like we are done.
We're done here.
I was shocked because like she kind of was like, okay, well, we're done. And I was like, oh, okay, like it's done now. Like
I feel like at that point in time, it's like, what more do you want her character to do? Like she has like nowhere to go. But yeah, she kind of just like is like, no, okay, cool. We're not banging. I'm done. We're done now.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Betty talking to Tony. Yeah. Betty's really upset about it. And Tony like goes and consoles her. And she's like, girl, don't worry about it. Like, let's go to the dark room tonight.
I know, like I
chat about it.
Love this scene so much. And I'm so happy that it came right after that moment with Kevin. Cause like, yeah, I really thought she was gonna be like, I'm a boss ass bitch. Like, I don't care. But like she went and she started like crying and she was like on the floor, like bawling. And she's like, what did I just do? Like, I care about him. And like, yeah. And it was such a real moment. And then like for Tony to be there, shout out to Tony. This girl's like,
shout out to freaking Tony.
Her shoulders must hurt because like she is carrying.
She's carrying
this entire show.
Freaking carrying, yeah.
But she was like, you are in the right. Like more girls should tell their boyfriends like exactly what they want and like, right. Don't be afraid of asking like what you really want. Like that's like your urge or like whatever it is. Like
give the tea.
Huge moment again, right? Like. And yes,
and like it's so subtle because like you never really see these characters interact with each other except for like in this season, like episode 1, they have that whole moment. But outside of that, like you kind of forget that these characters can interact with them, like they're interchangeable.
You mean like Tony and Betty?
Yeah, that Tony and Betty have this relationship like on the side, kind of like it's not like at the forefront by any means, but
I love
the fact that she has this great relationship with her. It's interesting because in the other world, this would be like a Veronica Betty conversation. You know what I mean? She'd be like, I broke up with Kevin. But in this world, like it's like
so though.
I mean, yeah, because they were best friends in that world, right? Like
I feel like for a long time, like they never had those conversations anymore. I know what you mean, like
that would be the classic way to go with it. Yeah. But like the fact that Tony's kind of come into this and she's now this not random, but like she's the character that takes on these like side conversations. I loved it. Like I thought it was 100%. A great way to use her in this way.
They look at things very similarly. Like they have a very like logical mind, but also a very like sensitive. Like they're very like still emotional, and they're able to think with those two sort of things.
Yeah, for sure.
They're very like aligned like that. Whereas like Cheryl's a bit more like chaotic, you know, like her energy is a bit more chaotic. Veronica's more like whatever.
Well, she's like Hollywood or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then it cuts to Veronica going to the jail and talking to Jughead, being like, okay, like what's going on here? And Jughead gives her all the details and she says, don't worry, I'm gonna find the coroner. I'm not sure who it is like in this town, but I will find him and I'll get the report to like help corroborate the fact that you were at the prom or you were at the dance, so like you couldn't have murdered them, and like we'll see what we can do from there. And they have like a little moment where she mentions like a film reference and he's like, oh, I know that movie, like The Thin Man. And she's like, I thought she would like that movie. Like they're like low-key flirting this entire time.
Dude, like I never thought we would be here right now.
Right? Who saw this on their bingo card this year? Like not me.
and I didn't, and it like we got a couple of tweets this like after last night too, and everyone's like shook. Like everyone's like shook at like their chemistry, and not like a chemistry of like the like whatever. It's more of like their own like interests and their own conversational pieces that I think in this universe it works. I don't know if, again, like we said it last week, I don't know if it would have worked in our like original timeline, but for this one they are so on the same page. Like they just vibe. Like
they made like a great direct connection between the two of them. So I'm really I'm just already so interested to see how they develop, and it didn't feel at all forced. It was just like two buddies hanging out. They have some film reference like things, and for once, like it's so refreshing to see Veronica play the selfless role. Like, oh God, I'm so happy I'm out here doing this for somebody else and your own, like not my interest whatsoever. Like she's not doing this because she has a crush on this guy. Like maybe she does at this point, but she's doing it because her buddy's in jail and she's like, I got you. Like, let me just figure this out. And it's not annoying. It's not like it's not like just to like feed her own ego. She's like, bro, I got you. Don't worry about it. And it's so different from what we've seen of Veronica over all these years. And especially last season, that was our biggest complaint. Everything she did for every single part of her storyline was self-serving. Yeah. And to see her do this, I was like, ooh, what a breath of fresh freaking air for Veronica Lodge.
Happy you brought that up because that's exactly what I took from it. Like in every single moment here, she's literally doing it just to help him out, like just to like give him a break. She's not. And I think along the way, she starts to realize maybe why she's doing it. But like, it's not like a force, like, oh my God, I love him. And like, I'm going to do it for her. Like, there's nothing of that. It's totally just like this innocent, he's so my friend. I'll help him out. He has got no one else. And then in doing that, like, I think these feelings start to like unfold. But like you said, it is so organic and it's so subtle. And this is another reason why I was so impressed by this episode. Cause like, it's just happening like little by little. But you want it now. You're like they're building it up. Like you want it to happen.
Now you're invested. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're doing a great job. Then it cuts to Archie. He gets home from school, and Mary right away corners him. She's like, "Bro, what the did you just do to Cheryl? What the did you just do?" And he's like, "What, Mom? What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about." And so she's like, you know what you did. We don't have to get into the details about it. But now we have to go to dinner with the Blossoms because they want to basically arrange marriage, you guys. Like, she's like, get your tux on. Like, we're going.
You had sex with her and like now like this she's is tarnished. Like, you got to marry her. Like,
this is like a serious,
like what it
sorry
is.
situation. Yeah. And Archie's like, uh-oh. So then it cuts to the Blossoms dinner. And we see Clifford freaking Blossom has been.
This looks so weird.
Back. It's the wig. Like it's the motherfucking wig, y'all.
And
like
I feel like they put makeup on him, and he always just like looks like a fake person. Wonky. I don't know. It's like so he weird.
Looks like and I mean it kind of works for him. He's this like shady mayor type guy. We find out that he is the mayor of Riverdale, which like we didn't know who the mayor was until up until now. So like he is the mayor of Riverdale, which makes sense.
Yeah.
A Blossom, super rich or whatever. Definitely giving me like John Tory vibes, but whatever. Then it cuts to them talking and he asks Archie about the Russians. He's like, just trying to have this banter. He's like kind of pushing in on Archie to see like if he has a brain, essentially. And he's like, what do you think about these Russians? And the problem that we have the Russians. And Archie's like, yeah, they're like a big problem. And he's like, I like your style. I like your style, Archie Andrews. Like, you're just like your dad. And, it obviously like masks that part because for a second, Cheryl was like very nervous. She was like, oh God, are we like getting away with this? Whatever. Archie says it and everything's kind of smoothed over. Then it cuts to after dinner. Cheryl talks to Archie and she's like, thanks so much for doing this with me. It's so nice to hear you talk about your dad the way you do. He sounds like a great guy. Maybe it's not this point, but anyway, she has a good moment with him.
Even Cheryl, similar to how we just talked about Veronica, like even Cheryl, every time I look at her and I'm like thinking that old Cheryl's going to come through and like that, like not evil, but a bit more, extreme, intense, and a bit more selfish. And she looks at Archie as like this good human, and she appreciates those qualities. Like she loves that he's so good-hearted and his family is so genuine, and I love that she pulls at those things and she doesn't just worry about like herself and like her life and like what's gonna happen.
True. Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it too, because if you look at someone like Cheryl, she's always like, okay, bye. Like she's always like that person that's like, what do you need? What do you want? Like, you know, like even in the first even in the first few episodes, she kind of has that energy where she's like, buy a ticket for my dance, buy a ticket for my dance. Like she had that kind of like peppiness to her, and maybe it's because she's struggling with this whole experience with her sexuality that she's starting to soften up a little bit and feeling a little bit more in like a desperate mode, and you are seeing like a better side to her that's a little bit kinder, a little bit more empathetic. But anyway, I like what they're portraying for her as well. Then it cuts to the dark room and the tea, sis. The tea.
Oh, by the way, that looks really good.
I know. Delicious.
I want one.
Espresso.
That's your
Christmas gift. So she goes down to the dark room with Tony, and it's like, it's such a random thing, and I like the way that they like played it out and like they set it up, because Tony goes down and she's like, girl, don't worry, we'll get you a coffee. Like it's not a big deal, and you're still holding on that shot. And then she sees something, but I don't even think we see it yet as the audience. And then she's like, oh, wait. Like, no, like we like just go back up the stairs. And like Betty's like, wait, what do you mean? She like goes down a little bit more. And then it's like the shot of shots where like Kevin is like holding Clay.
Fully like
they're like rubbing up against each other. Yeah,
100%.
They're up in the gig. Yeah.
So can I just pause right here and ask you a question? Like, so obviously we see them embrace, they're hugging. Like it was a very intimate moment. Like clearly there was a scene in between last episode and this one where something happened between him and Kevin. Do you feel like you wanted to see that scene?
You know, I feel like if they did shoot it, it was cut for time, obviously. But at the same time, the way that it was broken down afterward when Betty talks to Kevin about it and like she asks the questions, I felt like that helped their relationship, like Betty and Kevin's relationship, him like explaining himself. Because if we just saw it, then like maybe that conversation would have not happened between him and Betty, or would have happened again, which would have been redundant. So yeah, I mean, I'm not mad that we didn't see it. I feel like we see so many moments where like Kevin is like in a tumultuous relationship. We see the back end and someone consoles him and he goes and sucks their D in the woods or whatever. But like, and I know that that's not what the case is for them. And I guess it takes a little bit away from the relationship that he's growing with Clay, because if we're now invested in Clay, like as a viewer, we would like to see that. Like I would have liked to see that interaction outside of just them embracing each other. Cause like, to your point, we missed something clearly. Like last minute they were in the locker talking, and the next thing you know, they're just hugging each other. And you're just like, okay, we definitely missed like a conversation here. But I'm sure we'll have time for that later. I'm not too worried about it. And I do like the fact that all of that back end storyline came afterward with Betty.
I 100% agree with you. Like,
but it's a good point, because it was a miss. It was like,
in that moment I was like, wait, what? But then by the time we get to the end of the episode and Kevin has that moment where like he says like, I was here and then he saw me, and then we like he almost explains how it all even went down. And I believed that story and like how organically that can happen. And so, but again, to what we keep saying, like the writing was so well done that when you get to the end, like you're not really questioning that. You're like, okay, no, like I get it. I get how it got to this point. And even the way Kevin's explaining it to Betty, like he's not saying it like, well, I don't have to explain myself to you, or like I don't have to like say that because like this just happened, or I was horny and like I did, like he's not even, the reasoning is so justified, and like you believe him. Like I believe everything that he said, and like how he was crying, and like it was such a beautiful moment. And I didn't care so much about like not seeing that moment in the beginning.
For sure. Especially after it's explained later, I'm like, okay. Cool. So then it cuts to Veronica, and she gets Jughead out of jail because she confirms that the parents died while Jughead was at the dance. Like the time of death was confirmed by the coroner, Which, surprisingly enough, I'm surprised that they haven't shown Dr. Curdle Jr.
I know.
I was thinking about our girl, No Context Riverdale, Macy, because she loves Dr. Curdle Jr. And I was like, she must be like so upset that like he never showed up. But
maybe
because when she said
again.
like I'll go to the coroner, I'm like, oh, we're gonna see him.
Yeah.
But
sorry. Did they know? So is this the part where Julian basically corroborates like that he was with Ethel? Is that how they get him out?
Yeah, so it gets him out of jail, and now they're sitting at Pops being like, okay, like what do we do about Ethel now? And then Jughead's like, well, Ethel actually ended up telling me the entire story. It turns out that she was with Julian, and it's this whole thing where we see the backstory. Julian saw Ethel at the bus stop waiting to go to the dance, offered her a ride. She says yes. And then instead of going to the dance, they drive up to Lover's Lane and they start like kissing, kissy, making out. But then he starts getting like a little too intense. And so she stops him and then she gets out of the car and then she threatens him or he threatens her. If you tell anybody, I will like say that you were a nymphomaniac, whatever. So she keeps her mouth shut. And that's why she didn't tell the police in the first place. So she didn't kill them because at the time that was happening, she was being driven. But I still don't get
I don't get the timeline of events though, because then it's like she leaves his car, and then goes back home.
Yeah,
and then goes to the dance. Like
I really don't know because that's a really good question because they don't really explain what happened after. Like she still claims that she saw the milkman, so technically the milkman was still in the house like after they were murdered. So but they don't really talk about like why that even corroborates the fact that she wasn't there killing her parents, because if she had left, then I don't know, the time is still tight.
The timing is off in this episode too. Like so she went back home after that. She saw her parents dead, somehow all their blood on her dress, then walked all the way back to the school.
Ran all the way back to school instead of taking the bus. Like she could have ran all the way to the dance instead of waiting for the fucking bus at that rate. Like I don't know. I don't know. Do you feel like there is some sketchiness still involved in Ethel's story? Like, do you think that she still might be a suspect?
I only think that because of motive, right?
Yeah.
If she had the best relationship with her parents,
that'd be like, okay, fair.
Yeah, like different story. Like, why would you want to kill her parents? Or like if one of them was like still like a good parent. Like my only thing is like, who would want Ethel Muggs' parents dead?
Yeah,
now, randomly. Having said that, we haven't come across a serial killer in town just yet. There probably is one. That's probably what we're dealing with. But we haven't come there yet. And so for me, I'm just like, who would want Ethel Muggs' parents dead at this point? I think Ethel, because we saw how like chaotic her household is, like so
exactly.
That's the only reason why I'm like I keep thinking about it. But
and I still don't really know what's gonna come of that, because like where she ends up at the end of this episode, I'm still kind of confused as to like where Ethel falls.
Why would you go back home after that? Like it's not like her mom is like, she'd be like, Mom, like he tried to like do this to me. Like she can't tell her mom that. So like go to school. Why are you gonna go home first?
I don't know. I mean, it did happen. It clearly did happen. Like Julian does admit that that's what happened. But it is kind of confusing how that still corroborates the fact that she wasn't the one that killed her parents.
Because I guess by the time she got home, they were already dead.
Right. So like if time of death, if they're going like the coroner's like time of death, like at 5, they like died at like 7 p.m.
Yeah, and like she came home at like 8.
Yeah, and she was like, kissing on Lover's Lane at like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, like no. Who knows? Because if you do recall, Julian does come late to the dance because Veronica says like, "Where were you this whole time?" So like, we do know that he does get there a bit later than everyone else, which now makes sense because he was at that place with her.
But like, to your point, technically, she still could have run home, killed her parents, and 100%. Then gone to the dance. Still, like, it still doesn't really like change that. Anyways, then it cuts to Jughead wanting. So then we find out that story. Jughead says he wants to approach Julian about this at school the next day. Cool. Cut to the Cooper residence, and Betty gets home, and Alice asks her if she broke up with Kevin. And I wanted to ask you this question because I was very confused now that we're talking about parents and why parents are here, why you're not parents here. She says, Mrs. Keller called me and told me you broke up with Kevin. So Kevin's mom is in this world.
Right.
Which she
like why would they just say Mr. Keller? Like
like Sheriff Keller told me that, like, you know, like why is she randomly
like
such interesting and reasons. Poor Jughead but Jughead's still orphan gone, like no parents whatsoever. Now we have this random woman, like we're probably never gonna see Mrs. Keller. She never showed up in the first like show, so I don't know. It's just a very interesting sequence of events, and it would have been interesting to see why, you know, like if we're going into like Kevin being like so tied up about his sexuality, like if you're gonna introduce someone like Mrs. Keller and be like, oh yeah, I got off the phone with her, is she the one that's like super religious? Is she the one that's like, you have to be straight? You know, like where did he get this inkling of that he had to like hide it? Or was it just like a general, like just general knowledge, like don't be gay in that time period?
Well, and I think that's why I really, really, really want them to highlight Tony's storyline and to show, and Clay, to show why are they so open and like
the difference
free with their sexuality. That they have to address that. Like we know why they were closeted and they didn't want to come out. We know because that was a time.
Right.
But yeah.
But anyway, so she asked her if she broke up with Kevin. Betty's like, yep, I did. And for good reason, because I saw Kevin motherfucking hugging up on some guy yesterday. Or just now. So like that's the tea. Like he's a homosexual. And Alice is like, no, it's just a phase.
In this episode was crazy by Alice Cooper.
Absolutely bonkers.
Like,
And she goes on to say, like, Betty, you should help him through this. Like, as a friend, as someone who's been with him for like years.
So she's like, it's literally a phase. Like, you could just like make him like you again, like be interested in you again. Like,
fuck? Like Alice is deranged. But at the same time, like, I guess she does embody like those moms that were just like, just close your eyes and pretend like, you know.
No,
like,
100%. Like, but like, what I don't understand is just like, just tell her just to like move on then. Like, just say like, don't like, like let the guy figure himself out. You go find someone else. Like, you know, like.
And that's the thing. She's all about like protecting her kids, but she's not like about empowering them whatsoever. She's like, just become a housewife.
Such a good point.
Like, has nothing to do. Anyway. We'll get into fucking Alice because she doesn't even stop there.
That was your best line of the episode. That was your best line right there. That was J-Lag's best line of the podcast.
So then it cuts to Jughead and he gets back to his trailer and it's like fully trashed. His dog is missing. So he's like, great. Like now I gotta.
Don't be showing me no dogs that need help. Like I will not. No, I will riot. Like
Sarah McLachlan, please. Let's get on this. Like let's talk. So then it cuts to the Andrews residence, and Mary tells Archie they're going to basically get arranged. Like she talked to the parents, she talked to Clifford.
Marriage.
There's going to be an arranged marriage, and now they need to take a compatibility test, the Cupid test, to see if they are like a couple or they can be a couple. And Archie's now like deep in it. He's like, oh, what
like do I what did now? I get into? Why am I doing this? Like
poor guy. This poor freaking Archie Andrews. I felt so bad for him this episode. Anyway, then it cuts to Riverdale High. And I wrote down randomly, because it is freaking random. Fangs is talking to Midge, and she's like, I'm late. And I'm like,
you're late, like, bitch, that was last week.
Like really, it is like that. It is like that Grease moment. Like I mean, at least in Grease,
totally.
Like in Grease, when like that whole thing happened, I was like, at least there was like a relationship there. Like Fangs, we barely saw Midge. This is her first sentence in the entire season so far.
No, like they're 100% copying Rizzo, and
she's like, I'm pregnant.
I can't remember his name, but like they're copying that relationship. But my point is like, it was like only 1 week. Like how did you already get late? Like
she's like, I'm late. It's always on time. It's not late. It's late right now. So anyway, so that happens. So he's like, okay, we'll figure it out. Don't worry. But I also just wrote down like, why? Why? Like outside of the reference to Grease, why are we getting Fangs and Midge up in this gig right now?
There has to be. And you want to say why? Why are you bringing frogs into this? Like,
oh, don't get the frogs into this.
We'll talk about it after, but I did not understand this pivot. I don't understand, like, why are they trying so hard to always fit Fangs in? Like,
so desperate.
Always. And then, like, so even after Tony's like, I'm gonna make you famous. Like, why?
I don't get it. I don't know.
I don't understand. There must
maybe just because he's like must on the bill. Later. I don't know.
No, but like maybe you're to your point, like maybe Midge does get murdered, maybe and like that's
Midge just dies.
You know?
And that would be even more intense if she was pregnant and then she gets killed. Like,
oh my god,
fuck! Like that's some serious shit.
Yeah, that's like really intense.
Anyway,
maybe. Okay, never mind.
Anyway, we'll see what happens. What you're like?
Maybe, and then maybe like Tony has to adopt like Midge's baby or something.
And then it's kind of like an echo of what happens in the real world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know.
Because I just don't understand why they're doing this baby storyline. Like, it's so weird.
Unless, like you said, like it's literally just going to copy what happened in Greece. Like,
yeah.
I don't freaking know. It's just weird. Weird, random, kind of a bit of a time waster for now.
Does she lose the baby in Greece? I think she does, right?
Does she lose the baby or does she like have an abortion? Does she give it up for
adoption? Oh yeah, she's an abortion, I think. Wait.
And it's like, I don't remember. No. Oh god, the Grease fans are gonna kill us. Oh shit.
I can't remember.
Or does she say that she wants to keep the baby at the end of the movie? And they're gonna get married? Like, isn't that her happy ending? I don't remember.
I don't know. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Viewers, let us know because we are in trouble now because we do not remember what happened to Rizzo. Okay. Then it cuts to Veronica and Jughead approaching Julian and being like, what the hell did you do to Ethel? You need to corroborate her story. And he doesn't want to tell anybody because he's like, I'm a blossom. Like, I can't tell anybody that I was out here macking on someone like Ethel. It'll spoil my reputation. And this is like what we saw in the trailer where Jughead punches him and he's like, you're disgusting. Like people like you are scum, and he's like, you better go to the police, or essentially, right? Like that's kind of like how that scene ends. Then it cuts to the police office, and this is when Sheriff Keller says, yeah, we're gonna have to release Ethel, and she's gonna have to get signed out, and the Coopers will be taking her back in.
And no appearance from Hal this week. Like Hal was not like in that discussion.
Which I actually wanted to ask you about.
Cheese. He's gonna be like, she's back.
But that's what I mean. I feel like anyway, why the way that the episode ends, I'm surprised that like he didn't have an influence on what ends up happening.
I know.
To Ethel. Because like he was the one that was like against it from the beginning. Yeah. He was like, no. And now he wasn't the one that even did it. It was Alice who ended up doing it.
Yeah.
So a bit of a like, it's just weird. I don't know. Like, why did they introduce Hal? Why is he here? Why is he not here now?
No, there definitely probably is a reason. They just like probably not paying him for like every episode, like every week, you know?
Scheduling issues.
Totally.
Always.
Yeah.
Scheduling issues. Anyway, so then it cuts to Dr. Werther's, the psychologist, in his office, and Archie and Cheryl are doing their compatibility test. And they do pretty well. Like, they're like, yep, he's like lying essentially. Like Archie's just saying like all the good words or whatever. And I think one of the last things he asks is like, do you know what marriage means? Like it's a very serious thing. You know, like being committed to one person is like against the nature of men, but like you can do it as long as like you're a good housewife.
Started on this shit.
You're like flip a table. Yeah, it was very ridiculous.
It was so blood boiling, disgusting. His face, I wanted to
tell it, girl,
off. So disgusting. Like,
yeah.
And he's like looking at Archie. He's like, I know it's hard to like not like cheat. Like, you know, like you're like, what? Like, are you fucked? Like, are you dumb?
Also, like, where's your wife, bro? Like, get out of here.
Are you like, even like,
out of here.
Yeah, like, ew.
Anyway, he was gross. And anyway, he calls Penelope. So it's Penelope and Mary at the at Thorncliffe. And Penelope's like, oh, great news. So then she hangs up the phone. Penelope and Mary talk, and Penelope's like, great news. our kids are compatible. And Mary's looking more and more upset.
Yeah, Mary's like glitching out. She's like, what the
Mm-mm.
fuck is this test? Like, what's going on? Like, am I making a mistake? Which
like,
I'm really happy because I'm like, at least there's one parent in this effing town that actually like has a conscience and like cares about their child. Like
gives a F about her kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, shout out to Mary Andrews, because like she really is like the only parent that gives a crap. Then it cuts to Tony talking to Fangs about Midge. And because he's basically like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do I do now? Like, she might be pregnant. And Tony's like, don't worry, let's meet at the school and we will put together a home test to check to see if she's pregnant or not. And I was like, what science is this magic? Is she gonna like pull it? Does she have like a strip? Like what is she gonna do?
I was so confused.
So confusing. It was just like a side adventure that I didn't really know why we were going along.
And it's not like Tony's like this like biology science nerd.
Yeah.
Like it
go talk to Ethel.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Dilton or something.
All of a sudden, like Tony's like, I know science. I'm like, girl, since when? Like you barely go to school. Like I just did not understand this storyline, and like I just didn't understand it at all. Like,
it was a little random. Weird. Not even a little random. It was very random. I just,
like the
I didn't,
frog,
I wasn't sure.
Like,
anyway, we'll get to that at some point. Then it cuts to Kevin in the music room. He's playing the piano. D. That's when Betty walks in, and she talks to him about everything. She's like, "I saw you with Clay," and initially Kevin kind of like denies it right away. He's like, "No." Like, whatever you saw, it wasn't real. You were dreaming. Yeah. Like, we were just like doing stuff. It was just a joke, okay? And Betty's like, no. Like, she takes it very. It was such a. I really love this moment. I just really love this moment. Too. Like the way that like it was handled. Betty kind of comes in and says like, whatever it was, it seemed very real and honest. And she's like, I'm happy for you. And like, it seems like you're. But it makes sense why like we couldn't like connect, because like this is why. And he ends up just kind of like apologizing about everything. He's like, I'm sorry I led you on for all these years. Our relationship, like I didn't want you to feel like our whole relationship was a waste. And she's like, there's no waste there at all. Like we made it happen the way we did.
Oh, it was just so beautiful.
A really cute moment. And like I keep like, whenever I watch these scenes, now I'm thinking about now that I'm watching the season, I keep remembering what I think it was RAS who said like there's going to be these echoes from the original series to like what we're seeing now. And I feel like this is like creating a foundation for their best friendship. Like
100%.
If you look at that first episode,
it's a connection.
Yeah, where like Kevin's like looking out the window and seeing how Archie got hot, that whole like first episode moment, and realizing like, oh, Betty and Kevin, they're best friends. We never got the history as to why they became best friends. Yeah. But when you see them together in this episode, I was like, oh, like if this was their foundation as to why they became best friends, it's like, of course they started dating, and then it obviously didn't work out. She found out he was gay. Like it's a cute, like it's a sweet moment.
It's very, very sweet, and it's very believable. Surprising that someone that's her age and his age too, but someone like at her age that is so wise, right? Like she can look at him and confidently say, like, this was not a waste of time. Like I loved every moment. Like you're moving on, whatever. Like for someone her age to say that, like. That doesn't happen. Like kids, like when we were in high school, like how immature were we? And if someone hurt your like her ego is not even in play right now, and that's so surprising. Like she just cares about her friend.
Like now that we think about it, and maybe not even as much in the first season, because we see that Hal even is like at least a nice enough guy, but like. Her parents in this world are like total D-bags. Like they suck as people.
Yeah.
How did they create such a good child? Like she's not like, yes, she's impressed by the fact that like her mom like scares the F out of her with like literally everything, but she always pushes back, and she's never like, she doesn't have this like to your point, she's not like selfish. She doesn't take this as like a slight. She's just like very caring. And maybe it is a matter of like the fact that like, Alice always says like bow down and like always like be good to people and like treat people right and that's the best thing to do, but she takes it like with a different take. I don't know.
I think you're 100% correct. I think like how does she know how to be such a good person if the two people in her life are like so ruthless,
so poopy,
and so what,
so poopy. So poopy.
You got baby brain.
Yeah, just poopy.
No, but like I think maybe they could have like talked about this a bit more in terms of how to like. I do think Hal was like a good dad, but I just think he had this like secret side to him that he was a murderer.
Yes.
But in terms of like who he was as a father, like I do think he was like a very like supportive dad. Like he was always there for her and Polly. Like he was that kind of figure in their lives. He was just like a crazy person. So
on The Secret,
on The Secret, whereas like like I don't know, but it's a very interesting point. How do you know to be a good person if like you've never learned that or like you've never seen that? Like even with Veronica, the way she's taking care of Jughead and like the way she's like trying to like be there for him, how does she know to do all those things when like no one has been there for her and no one's been supporting her? Like
I mean, sometimes you go the opposite direction of your parents because you realize how crappy they are. Like that is young. A real thing.
How do you know? Like you kind of learn that as you get older and like, as you go through life, but like
as you're healing your trauma. Yeah, it's true. It's true. But anyway, I'll take it. It was a beautiful moment. I loved it. Like, let's just, I guess Betty is just like kind soul. It's great.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to Pop's diner and Cheryl and Archie are talking about marriage. But Archie's really cute. He like wants to know Cheryl a little bit better. He's like, like we're doing this damn thing. Like, let's talk about stuff. And she says, like, Archie, I heard that you like wrote this poem for Veronica. Like, maybe you can write me a poem.
So like, cute.
He is trying so hard to make this work.
Can you write me a poem? He's like, yeah, sure, I can write you a poem. Like, he was so cute.
I loved him this episode. He was just such a sweet.
I can't with KJ. Like, he's playing him so perfectly.
Yeah, like just like wholesome Archie. Like, this is the Archie that I feel like we've been waiting for and we finally have it. It's
and not so like annoying, like thinking about the next like thing. Like he's just like such a big heart. Oh,
he's like into it. Like he's like literally like in his brain.
Yes.
He is marrying Cheryl. I am invested in you. I will write you a poem, whatever you need, girl. Like we're going to get married. Like, like he is, his little tiny innocent brain is just like going for it. So and I don't know. I love it. I just loved watching it.
I know.
Everybody wants a son like Archie Andrews. You know what I mean? Like you just see that and you're just like, oh, what a good kid.
I know.
So then it cuts to Veronica. So this is the scene that I was talking to you about. Like they were sitting at Pop's diner and then the camera, I don't remember the camera slides over, but like in the same
they're
scene,
there together in the same
they're
room.
right over there.
Like, yeah.
Like Veronica and Jughead are talking in another booth. And I was like, oh, I love the fact that they're like just flipping between these different booths. Another really cute moment, surprisingly, between Jughead and Veronica.
I'm just so like
shocked.
I'm shocked at myself.
Shocking.
Like what? Who am I that like I'm like, loving this?
Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk about the scene and then we can like
analyze. So he ends up like they talk about everything. She's happy that like Ethel's out of jail, whatever. And he says like, or she says like, oh, like, do you want to walk me home? And he's like, actually, I'm gonna stay here.
Like so cute. Again, such a cute little like. She's not like, let's go out together. She's like,
yes.
Can you walk me home? Like,
And it wasn't even like like when we first are introduced by Veronica in the very beginning of the season. She's a little more like, I deserve this. Like very like Hollywood, like the old Veronica that we know, entitled, where she's like, somebody can fight over who's going to drive me home today.
100%.
Like from that first episode with Julian and Archie sitting at the front, whatever, it's now like, would you like to walk me home? Like it was very sweet and like an innocent way to like kind of have this suggestive conversation with Jughead that didn't feel forced. It just felt natural. Like you keep saying. And he's like, sorry, girl. Like, I think I'm going to stay here because I'm basically homeless right now. My whole place got trashed. I got to go find my dog. Like, it's just a lot. So she says, why don't you come stay at the Pembroke? Like, I have so much room. Like, I don't even remember, like, some of the wings in our apartment.
She's
it's
like,
so big.
We have, like, so many rooms. And then he's like, it's too bougie for... Like, in every attempt, like, she's trying to... He's like, you know what? It's okay. Like, he's like, it's too bougie for me. He's like, I don't like silk sheets. And then she was
like I'm allergic to silk sheets.
The banter was just so cute. Like that's another thing. Like it wasn't just like, do you want to come stay with me? Sure. Okay, but done. It wasn't like that. It was like this kind of like back and forth. Like he's saying no, but she's saying yes. And then he's like, I don't like silk sheets. He's like, okay, well, it's good because like we only have cotton. He's like, okay, like it was just so
cute little flirty moments. Cute little flirty moments. And like I think I was waiting for a point in time where Jughead would shut her down and she'd be like, cool, bye. Because we're not used to seeing them together.
Yeah.
So even when he said like I'm allergic to silk sheets, I didn't think that she would press and be like, oh, but like good thing that I have Egyptian cotton. You know what I mean? Like she literally like because she could have easily been like, sounds good, have a good night, like good hanging out this time.
Yeah.
But like these subtle moments, and it wasn't like him being like, no, I don't want to sleep with you or whatever. It was very it just felt natural.
What, though?
The writing felt natural. The way that it was delivered was natural. It felt great.
The 100% of the writing was natural, and I think that there's something they're both very witty. Like it's something that I never really realized.
Like the back and forth banter.
So witty. Archie's really not witty at all.
No.
And the fact that, and it's something that I just realized, like watching this episode, I was like, they're kind of like witty and funny together. Like, I never realized that in like 7 freaking years. I never realized that they have the same sort of like humor where it's like they can like kind of smart. Like one exactly like they can not to say that like the other ones are dumb, but like they're just smart like in the same way.
A different level of intellect. Exactly.
They get their references. Like I'm just like speechless.
Gobsmacked. Like that we're getting like Veronica. Are people calling them Veronica? Veronica in season 7, the final season of the entire show. I'm loving it. I'm so glad that they explored this. Like
I know.
Pleasantly surprised.
And there's something that they did in this episode that I noticed more. Maybe it's been happening. I don't know, but there's something at the end of every scene. They don't, and some of them obviously they cut right away, but a lot of these scenes, they end, like the dialogue will end, and they'll sort of like hang on the actors' faces for like a second or two to give you a beat. And maybe they've done this in the past. I've never realized it, but in this episode, I noticed so many moments where I'm like sitting with what just happened, and like the scene sits there too for like a second. Like
it gives you
the characters are like, and I'm like, yeah, like it gives you a beat to kind of like feel of what just happened and transpired.
Right.
Like, I don't know if they are intentionally doing that, but it's something that I noticed. I don't know more this episode, and I don't know if you noticed it either, but I was like, that's so cute. Like they're hanging on the camera.
They're holding. Yeah, they're holding.
They're holding it. Yeah, just something that I appreciated.
It is nice. And I think maybe it is because they've paced it down quite a bit, right? Like we're not running after murders and deaths and serial killer and cut into the next scene.
Yeah.
This is not like high octane stuff. This is high school, which is just as intriguing and interesting. And I can't believe that we had to stick around for 7 seasons to finally see it, but here it is. So then it cuts to Riverdale High, and it's like nighttime. It's Tony, Fangs, and Midge in the science room, and Tony says she needs to inject Midge's pee into the frog, and by next morning, if she lays eggs.
Is this real? Like I need to Google this.
I know I wanted to look it up, but I was also just like, it's Riverdale and they're just gonna confuse me. So like maybe not. I have no idea. Maybe it is a thing. Like when back in the day, but like you had to wait a whole day.
It was like an actual thing. The frog test had been a highly dependable pregnancy testing method since the 1930s until the immunological test was presented in the 1960s. Pharmacists would inject the pharmacist would inject the female's early urine sample into the frogs and confirm their pregnancy with the spawning of eggs within 18 hours. Ew.
Weird.
So they must have been like, let's educate our audience a little bit and be like, this was a cool part of it. Like, okay,
this is now we're gonna have like kids stealing frogs from swamps trying to check their pregnancy test because they can't afford a pregnancy test from the dollar store.
That is hilarious. Okay, I'm kind of like okay with that now because it's like it's actually true.
It's a real thing. Yeah. Anyway, so she injects the pee. I didn't know why they had to break into the school at nighttime. Like, could they not have just taken a frog from the pond and called it a day? Like, I have no idea. So that's when the next morning, it shows the next morning, and there's like a ish ton of eggs. Like this Like Midge is very pregnant. There is no doubt whatsoever. And this is when Tony tells Fangs that he's going to have to straighten up, you know, like clean the grease out of your hair and ask Midge's parents for Midge's hand in marriage, but make sure that you keep the pregnancy a secret because we do not need to introduce that storyline just yet. And he's like, okay, cool. He looks stressed. Like Fangs is like, oh yeah, I gotta do something. Then it cuts to the Pembroke, and Jughead made Veronica brekkie.
Oh my god, I was like shook. Like
so freaking cute. He's like
cooked.
He cooked. Like he cooked. Seeing a man cook in general is hot, but watching
when it's Jughead, I'm like, there was like coffee there, like
sausages, eggs,
like everything had like a plate. Like he didn't just like put it on their plate. It was like serving plates. I was like, oh, it was funny
because like I thought he was gonna be like, oh yeah, like I just ordered room service or whatever, like or I just like got like the concierge to order us breakfast. But he's like, no, I made like every single thing.
No, like
I just was like,
not Jughead like, being
like husband material right
honestly,
now. Like,
what is happening?
Damn, lock him down.
And it's like he's not doing it to impress her. Like he's not like he is probably
he's just, like, thankful.
Like, he's not like, ooh, what am I gonna get from her now? Like if I do this, he's not doing it for that. He's truly just being like grateful and like I made this. Like I thought it'd be nice.
Yeah,
like, you know.
And so then again, that little bit of like that slight push and pull between their relationship. She's like, oh, do you want to walk me to school? And then again, he's like, no, I can't. I'm going to stay home today.
Dog. Yeah.
I got to go with my dog.
I know. Every turn, I'm like, Jughead, why are you saying
I know. Like, Veronica keeps saying, like
let's chill, bro. She's like, let's chill. And he's like, no, I got to get my dog. And she's like, okay, I'll come too. He's like,
so that's what she does. Fun. She's like, I'll skip school too. And I'll help you with it. Like, you go get hot dog and I will clean up your train car. I was like,
literally,
what is happening?
It's so like, what am I like? What is this, like HGTV? Like we're getting a fixer-upper situation in this moment, and also too?
That fixer-upper was fucking iconic.
Wait, I need a moment for that. But like, hold on. Taking the fact that like these two are the only ones with like no parents in the show right now. Like that's another thing. Like no one's gonna know that they skipped school because like they don't have parents.
They sign themselves out at that point. Yeah, like they're doesn't matter. But yeah, it was really, really cute that she was like, let me tag along.
What freaking cute. And like what is it?
I just loved it. You know what's funny? I don't even think we got these moments from Bughead or from VARCHIE. Like I will say that with confidence.
I will agree with you with confidence. I will.
Like Archie making Veronica breakfast, skipping school to like do up like your room and like get your dog. Like such a simple, cute little thing. We never really saw those things with Bughead and VARCHIE.
No, like is
for real
Veronica like Endgame?
Like
no, like are we re-evaluating like everything we've ever known about Riverdale? Like, because I'm almost thinking like as you sip,
maybe
like the level that these guys have chemistry and like what they legitimately talk about, I never thought.
Never.
Like
the fact that we see the core four now, are they like, is this it?
And also
would you be down for it?
I also like, okay, and I will say this. I do want to see a sex scene with them. Like I want to see them on, because what we saw at the end was like it was like a peck, okay? Like it wasn't a lot. But I want to see a little bit more sexual chemistry so that I can believe like that part of it. And sure. I'm not doubting it, like that might still come, but like I want to see that before like I call them like Endgame or like call them like this might be like another facet of the core four. But what I do also appreciate is like Veronica doesn't look down on him, you know, like this could have been a dynamic where she's like, poor boy, I'm gonna take care of him, like he needs my help because I'm so rich. Like there is that tone is not there with her. She's just kind of like I think as she goes, she realizes that like she kind of like enjoys that she's hanging out with him and like it's just like unfolding into the next thing.
Yeah.
And I like that there's not that like hierarchy that she thinks so highly of herself that like why is she hanging out with this loser?
Not with him. Yeah.
Because it could have gone that way, right? Like
for sure. I just love, like, I don't know. It's so different. It is so different from what we've ever seen between. It's just new.
But maybe
it's just new and different.
It is, yeah. And maybe there is a little bit of that hierarchy where like she did originally think she was too good for him. Like maybe that's what we're seeing, right? Like, not that we think she's so good, but like she's like rich girl Hollywood and he's like whatever, and we're sort of creating those things in our own like viewpoints,
right?
But then when you break it down, you're like, but they have so many similar interests, like they know their jokes, like they know what they're talking about. So what does it matter where they came from, you know?
Yeah, I'm so glad that they're exploring it, and I want to know if they're not going to pursue this relationship to be endgame, like what does it all mean for this finale? Like what does it mean for this final season? Yeah. Like I'm down.
And like what about Tabby? Like when she comes back in this universe.
Or if she comes back, yeah, we don't know.
Everyone keeps saying it. They're like, she's coming back in episode whatever. And I'm like, okay, if she comes back, but like what happens, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, are we comment below? Are we team Jabitha or are we team Veronica? I don't know. I'm actually very conflicted.
I mean, right now there is no Jabitha, so let's be real. Like it's right now we haven't seen Tabby, so like we don't know.
Like in this world, like she does not even like they don't even have a relationship. It's tough, right? Because they just never put them together. Like they never ever even thought to explore them. If anything, Veronica was like totally repulsed by Jughead in that world.
And you were saying this last week, like you were like, because the way they set them up in the other universe is like, you know, Veronica is Archie's girl. Like that's how it's always been for Jughead and vice versa. Like, you know, Jughead is Betty's guy. And so that's how we've always viewed those two people. And how they view each other. So like there was never a chance of that happening in that universe, but this one's a bit different. And I don't know, now I'm kind of wishing that like we had a semblance of this in that other universe, but I don't know how they would have made it work. I really don't. I think it would have had to have happened like this, where like Veronica came new to town before she even got with Archie seriously. Like they kind of had a little bit of a moment and then it like disappeared kind of thing.
Right.
And then,
right. But I feel like BUGHEAD and VARCHIE were being like, they were right out the gate. Like they were the ones, right? Like 100%. Episode 1, they set them up. So you never got the opportunity to see Jughead with anybody but Betty.
Yeah.
And then Tabitha. But yeah, just excited. Like, listen, how excited we are to talk about Veronica. Like, it's like taking up like 30% of this fucking podcast. Anyway, cuts to Riverdale High, and Betty tells Archie that like marrying Cheryl is absolutely insane. Like, this is like, she's like, bro, from
like,
neighbor to neighbor
now. Like, this is
from friend to friend. Like, let's not do this.
Yeah.
And I guess like this is a little Barchie moment. Like we have, you know, Betty kind of coming in being like, you're such a good person. And it was actually really, really sweet to hear like what she had to say about it too. Archie says Cheryl needs help and maybe this will help him figure out his purpose in life. I was like, Archie at 17 trying to figure out his purpose in life, like saving Cheryl. I thought it was so cute that he's like honorably trying to just like do the right thing.
So Archie, like it
was
Archie.
So cute. But then she's like, Archie, there's a difference between loving someone and then saving someone. And what if that love between two people, because she's like, do you love him? Do you love her? And he's like, well, she's cool and like maybe it'll grow over time. She's like, what if it never grows?
And like he said something so cute. He was like about the principal, like whoever it was. He was like, principal something said that like your love like starts at like 17 and then by like 21
between
like you
21
peak, like you peak like your like love or something. And I was like, yeah, he's just like believing anything. He's just
like following the directions of life. Like whatever the textbook says, he'll do it. And Betty says like marriage is forever. It's like it is the rest of your life. Like this is a decision. And it's nice because I feel like Betty still, even though she's single in this moment, she's not doing it selfishly. She's not doing it to be like, Archie, like, I want to be with you instead. It's literally like her being like, bro, like, this does not sound like a good idea. Like, are you sure that this is what you want to do? And I liked it. I like that they're like inserting these like little Barchie moments from time to time. Yeah. They don't feel forced. She doesn't seem desperate. He's just like earnestly having a good solid conversation with his like longtime childhood friend, you know, like it was nice.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to Archie and Cheryl at Thornhill talking to Clifford, and he's essentially like planning out their entire freaking future. He's like, okay, so once you finish high school, you're just gonna start working for me, and Cheryl's just gonna like live at home and become a housewife, and like
he had
they're
everything
like
planned out. He had everything planned out.
Yeah, they're like gagged.
Yeah.
And they're not happy with it. Like they're kind of just like kind of upset about it because like college is out of question. Like Archie's like, oh, like maybe she'll move in with me. And he's like, Cheryl, my daughter is not going to be living in your ish hole of a house. Like, bye.
And then like he's like, huh? And then even Cheryl was like, Dad, that was like, she doesn't say it, but she was like, that's so rude. Like,
yeah, it's like tight. So then it cuts to Tony and Fangs talking in the dark room, and he's like looking all preppy. He did like the whole greaser, like the grease like flip. You're like, he finally looks cute. And he says like the meeting with the parents did not go well, and Tony's solution to this, which like to your point and to what we've been saying about the storyline, like she's like, if you become a star, then they won't be able to say no. Like, bro, like what for the next 22 episodes, we're gonna watch Fangs become the next Elvis.
Oh
like
I can't.
I don't understand what is happening right now. Like, I don't get it. I don't know why they gave this storyline so much time.
I don't know why they give Fangs so much. Like, no, I'm being serious right now. Like, I want Reggie on my screen stat. I don't care about Fangs.
Good point. Yeah, like where is Reggie? Like I feel like he probably would have had more story.
He's coming. I think it's just like
Fangs probably wouldn't have been in this at all if Reggie was
I just hope they tie it all together. But right now and then that's the funny part. Like I've never really been that attached to Fangs. Like
yeah. I mean,
they put him with Kevin, but like you know.
And that's what I mean. Like he literally has so little of the storyline that they had to pull in an even more tertiary character, Midge, who was never in the freaking like original series.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they make Fangs the Clay of like this universe?
That is exactly the question. Like, why was he not? I guess they still wanted to make him Fangs. They didn't want to change his character, and Clay is an actual real character from the comic books. So they wanted to introduce Clay as like for sure end all be all.
But like, why can't Kevin still have a connection to Fangs in this universe? Like,
no, I agree. I think it's just because Clay, like, they want to introduce like Kevin's endgame. I don't know. The real question is, why isn't Clay in the other world?
Sorry, like why that for sure.
Like that is the real question to me.
But Fangs is the only character that like his sexual like thing like orientation like changed.
Right, like he's bi or whatever. Like he just went between both. I don't know. I don't like don't
in
know.
This one he's straight is what I'm trying to say. Like
yeah, but I think even in the original one he wasn't fully gay. I think he was
was bi. I think yeah
he was bi. I don't know. Maybe he's still bi in this world, but like we just don't see him with a boy. I guess like he's just he's not attached to Kevin whatsoever.
I'm just surprised that if you're gonna bring back the counterpart to Kevin in this universe, you would think that he would be tied to his storyline. Instead, he has a whole new storyline. He got a girl pregnant. He's Elvis. Like I was like, what the fuck?
Like in the original world, like they literally had a baby together, and like now like they're not even connected whatsoever. It's kind of interesting to see, like, you know, like going back to that whole RES Echo thing. Like, where is the echo between Fangs and Kevin? Like, is there nothing there at all now? Like, are we to just assume that storyline is dead? Where's Moose? That's an even better question. Like, why didn't Moose come back into this world?
Yeah.
Like he was one of the original characters from the series as well. So I don't know. It's all very interesting choices, but
like don't get me wrong, I love Clay. But like,
I'm loving
Clay's
what they're doing.
Character could have easily been Moose.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It could have been Moose. Like, and just left it at that.
Yeah.
Like introduced the same way. Maybe he was like, oh, I'm a traveling whatever of the army and blah blah blah. Like the same thing that they gave to Clay, but just give it to Moose.
Like Moose was like the quarterback, like jock.
I don't know, but like
you're right. They could have changed it. They changed Veronica's origin story.
Yeah, they changed everything.
His, yeah.
It's just I do love the fact that they brought Clay Walker into this just because of the fact that, like, based on the comics, that is what happens to Kevin. But my real question at the end of the day is, how is this all tying into the final, like, shot of this whole series? Like, Clay was just introduced now. So, like, where is he relevant in the in like the future time?
Yeah.
Like, is like one of the final things that we see, like, once they move into the future, like Clay finally showing up to Riverdale in the real world. I don't know.
That would be so cool.
Like, that's his final shot. Like, we realize that, like, him and Kevin had this, like, past relationship, and now, like, in the real world, they're gonna now like, the assumption is that they're going to, like, finally get together.
Yeah, like they'll finally, like, cross paths. Like,
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. They see each other, it's like, it's over, it's done, we're together now. So that happens. Then we see the train car. Veronica spruce the earth out of his place.
She was like, there's chandeliers, there's drapery, like,
girl, can you do my living room next?
I was like, girl, Jesus. She's like, sorry, I only had like 20 minutes, and like, this is all I could do. I was like, yo.
Like, did you bring in fucking furniture from, like, literal Hollywood? Like, there's, what, like, in the world?
Electricity now. Like, this girl got a freaking electrician up in here. Like, a sink. Like, he has a kitchen now. Like, she brought in the freaking contractor. Like, she went off. Like, it was off. So cute. It was so cute.
And again, another moment where it's not this overtly, like, sexual or, like, it's just a cute.
No, but it was awkward in the cutest of ways, because you could tell, like, she kind of wanted a little bit more.
She's getting there. Yeah.
He's like, oh my God, thanks. And she's like, okay. And he's like, okay.
She's like, you sure? I'm gonna.
Yeah. She's like, okay, I guess I'll just go this way. And he's like, okay. And it's like that moment where, like, you wanted something to happen, but, like, he doesn't know what to do either. And he doesn't really know, but, like, she's getting there. Like, she's like, hey, he could have, like, hugged me or something. Like,
and again, at this moment in time, I'm also like, okay, is, like, that the end of Veronica? Like, was it just like a one episode adventure?
Yeah.
And I probably would have been okay with that. But they kept throughout the rest of the episode just bringing them back together, and I'm just like, wow, I really like this.
What is happening?
I don't know. How are we talking about this so much? I'm literally obsessed. I'm obsessed with them together.
I'm so obsessed.
It's so cute. I don't know. I'm so interested to see, like, what they do with it, like, because of course, like, the question always becomes, like, when are they going to break up? How are they going to end it? If Reggie comes into the storyline, how is that going to shake things up? Like, I'm just intrigued because right now everything feels so good and, like, different and unique. I don't know. I really do enjoy it. It's not like I can't wait for them to finish this storyline so then we can move on to the next one. I'm like, keep it going. Like, let's see what happens next. Like, how are you guys going to get these guys together again? Like, I'm interested.
Oh my God.
Our faces are like, ooh.
No, like, literally, like, I was like, what is happening to me right now? How am I okay with this?
How do I feel this way?
But that's the thing. Like, good writing can take you anywhere, and it can invoke those feelings that you never even thought you were going to have about this relationship. Like, I never thought this, you know?
Never
in
a
million
million years.
Why are we going to go there? Like, that's so random. It's going to feel so fake and forced. And it has been, like, the complete opposite. Literally the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, one of the most naturally developed relationships on the show.
Yeah.
Like I can say that with confidence.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
It's fucking crazy.
It's nuts. Anyway, so cutting back to the Cooper residence, Alice finds the sex book.
She's like, I found your sex book.
She's like, what is this? So Betty's like, what, Mom? And so Alice says, like, where did you get this book from? And Ethel, poor Ethel, sitting at the front top of the steps, is like, it's my book.
She volunteered as tribute. She had to do it. She had to
be honest about it.
You're living rent free in a house, like, girl, you gotta do something.
You gotta take the bullet for this one. Sorry, girl. But did she have to get sent to quiet, like, mercy for this one? Like, Jesus,
like, savage. But, like, I love that, like, her and Betty have, like, no scenes together. Like,
Zero. Negative scenes. Yeah. She's just like, she literally like walks past her.
Yeah.
She doesn't even say like, come on, Ethel, let's go. She's like, bye. She's like, I'm just running away from my mom now. So yeah. So Betty takes the book from her mom, runs up the stairs, runs past her, runs past Ethel. Alice runs past Ethel. Like Ethel is literally a ghost at this point. Like, is she even alive? But again, it just goes back to my question. Like, what was Ethel's purpose other than like, girl, good to see you, like good actor, like whatever. But like, why are you even here?
No,
like,
there has to be something bigger. There has to be.
She killed her parents. Like, did she? Like, who knows? Then it cuts to Archie looking at a postcard from, this was a cute little scene.
Oh my God. I freaking
like cool moment. Shot too. He's holding a postcard from his dad. I guess when he was in the army or when he was in California, maybe. And it's like the Western, because he talks about how like his dad like was into Westerns and like that was their thing together. And as he flips it to like the picture and flips it back over, like Cheryl is flipping over a postcard from Niagara Falls. And they have this really cute moment where they're talking in the lounge and like Archie says, he's like, I'm just really overwhelmed with what your dad said. Like, I don't know if I could do this. And Cheryl agrees. She's like, honestly, you're right. It's too much. Like, we can't do this right now. But then Archie says, I got a better idea. Let's elope. Like,
how was that your next idea?
How was that your next idea? Like, I didn't understand.
He wanted to go to California. Like, he wanted to run away.
I mean, I get that part. But then, like, I thought that he was like, oh yeah, what Betty said, it made total sense. Like, we should just back out on this.
Yeah.
Instead, he was like, better idea, let's elope and like just like run away from our parents. Like, what? Girl, that was not what I thought you were gonna say.
The other question that I had in this moment was also like, why do you want to run away, Archie? Like, what is it about Archie's life that he feels like he needs to run away?
But I don't even think it has anything to do with him, and more to do with the fact that like his character as a person, he's just like,
oh, he's just doing it for Cheryl. You're saying
he's doing it for Cheryl.
Oh,
he's like down to do whatever she needs to like make her life happen, and this is just his idea because, to your point, like that connection to California, living in the West. He's like, I have an idea. Like, that's my little connection. I can become a farmer. It's funny because he's like, I could become a folk singer. Cheryl's like, a what?
She's like, what? And he's like, she's a folk singer? She's like,
folk singer.
Okay, I thought I heard you correctly.
She's like, great, cool. Folk singer. I don't even know what a folk is. So I thought it was really cute. And then Cheryl agrees at this point, and it like kind of zooms out, and Tony's like listening to the conversation. So
she's like, child,
Tony's about to step right in and be like, no, 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 no. Cuts to Betty talking to Kevin, and she says, I was reading your chapter on the gays. I was reading the gay chapter of the book. Which I thought was hilarious because he doesn't mention that he read that gay chapter either, because he borrowed the book too. Who? So she's like, Kevin borrowed the book and gave it back to her.
I thought that's what I thought he said I read that chapter or something.
I thought he read like the arousal chapter.
Oh.
And then he's like, I want to wait for marriage. I'm like, bro, did you
maybe he read the gay chapter?
He's like, I'm gonna read the homosexuality one too.
He read all the chapters.
All the chapters. But it's really cute because then Betty says like, you're really brave to like do this, like, you know, like just be who you want to be. And
he said something like, if I knew who I was or like what I was, I would have never like got you involved. Like, it was so sad. It was just, like, as if he's like a bad person, like that he would involve her. And she's like, no, like that's not like, you know,
like our relationship still meant something. Like, don't worry, bro. Like, we're still good. It was just like a continuation of what happened in the beginning of the episode with them together. This is like the second part where like he basically is like so thankful for her being such a good person. He's like, you have so much class, like all the way to the end. Like, you're just like a good person.
Classy ass bitch.
Classy ass bitch.
There's also something very innocent about these two where it's like, there isn't, sometimes in these things, there is no right and wrong, and there is no bad person and good person. Like, there's just two confused kids. in a time where like it didn't encourage you to like learn about yourself and like
it was
know
like
more and be
suppress
free.
everything.
So you know, you can't blame him. He can't blame himself. Like it's just it's a part of growing up or living through that generation, I guess.
Yeah. So this is when she says, here's my pin that you gave me.
Yeah.
Why don't you give it to Clay? Which I thought was really cute. She's like, I'm your gay BFF. Like, whatever, let's do it. And he's like, actually, that is from your mom. And then that's when Betty realizes like her mom stepped in, which I'm glad that they did that, because I was like, is Betty ever going to find out that her mom's like such a meddler?
So I'm glad they did that, but like, do you think she got like cheesed?
About what? Finding out about the pin?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she's like, dude, why would you go to my mom? Like, how did that even happen? And he's like, no, she invited me over. Like, she was asking me.
But was that the truth? Or like, did he go over?
No, that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
Because I think even in that scene, she's like, thanks for coming, Kevin. Like, thanks for coming over. I just wanted to talk to you about Betty.
Yeah.
So like, he wasn't lying to her about that. And that's when she gets cheese. So anyway, then it cuts to Cheryl in the locker room. And this is when Tony basically says like, hey, and Cheryl's like, oh, I wanted to talk to you about something. She's like, what, that you're going to run away? I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot run away. And I think I said it last episode, one of the things that I really, really wanted to see and I missed in terms of like how this relationship was unfolding, like Tony and Cheryl, and how Tony's been so like aggressive up until this episode, like, you know, like winky, like I'm gonna make out with this guy so you know that like I'm interested in you and like do this sexy dance in front of you like last episode. But this is finally like a moment where we see like Tony like sit down with Cheryl and say like, I was that girl, like I was you. Like you find out a little bit about Tony's history and she's like, you cannot outrun yourself. And this is gonna keep coming back to you. Like you have to like be true to who you are. And she even asks, like, do you love Archie? And she can't even admit that she loves Archie. She's like, he's a really good guy. And one of the last things that Tony says is, eventually you're gonna have to look at yourself and face who you really are, or else you're just gonna wither away. And Cheryl has her like Madeleine Petsch has her like silent tears coming down her face, which she does so perfectly.
It was such a beautiful moment.
Such a beautiful moment, and it wasn't like over dramatic. It just, I don't know. I love the chemistry between both of the actors too. Like I just feel like they have great chemistry, and seeing CHONI together, obviously. Can't wait to hear what CHONI 5 Honest said about this episode. Then it cuts to the Cooperez, and Betty asks where Ethel is. And Alice is like, oh, that girl, she, I just like dumped her over at Sisters of Quiet Mercy. And Betty's like, what's wrong with you? The nuns are literally insane. And Alice says like, no, girl, it's for the best. Like, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
We're all good. She doesn't have parents. Like, I can't deal with her crazy ass. And Betty comes for Alice. She's like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you so insane? What are you so afraid of? And Alice says like, I'm here to protect you. You'll thank me for it like later when you're older. And she also says, by the way, I burned that sexy book so you can't read it underneath the sheets anymore. Alice is like, Betty's like, what the is wrong with this woman? She's literally insane. But like, why are we building up Alice to be such
but dude, this is how they were at that time. Like, I'm not even shook. Like,
but
that's how they were.
But why does she have to be so annoying?
Extra. That's how she's always been.
Like she's literally like the mom. Like she's like every person in every like 80s movie where they talk about this time period where they're like, no, everything's like unsexual. It's just like too. It's almost like too annoyingly cookie cutter. Like we're against it.
Well,
like we already have it from the principal. We already have it from the psychologist. Like why do we have to have it from Alice of all fucking parents? The one that like needed the most like retribution. Like what is going to be her redeeming moment?
Like in our original universe, we got a glimpse of that because she was like a sex bot with like FP back in the day, and like that's why she became like this sort of like close off, stuck up person.
Yeah.
Are we going to get that same transformation or like sort of like a little glimpse of that in this universe? Like that's what I'm hoping for. but
that's what I mean. I don't know. And I don't know if there's room for any more like parent storylines this season, but it's just unfortunate because I think we mentioned it earlier, like Hal's in this episode. Why couldn't Hal do all this stuff? Why couldn't Hal be like, no, I talked to your mom. That girl is out. Like, I heard about the sex book. Like, she's now Sisters of Quiet Mercy. Like, why did all of these things have to fall onto Alice being the bad parent? Like, at one point, even in this season, she says, like, I'm just doing this to like protect my kids, and like, I'm doing better than you, Hal. Like, Hal, you're not doing shit. Like, she even comes down on Hal for like not stepping forward, even though he's pretty shitty too. So like, I didn't really get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get why she has to be this awful. Like, I get why she's awful, but I don't know why she has to be this bad. Anyway, so she burns the book, the end. Cuts to Archie. Oh, another cute moment. I love this moment. It was so cute. Archie's sitting there waiting at the bus stop. He's like so excited. He sees Cheryl like drive up and he's like, hey, like, oh, I can't even talk about it without like smiling.
It's like his grin. Like his grin is so like innocent, so earnest, and happy.
He's like, hey, like I got us tickets. Like, or did you want to take your convertible? Like, cause like I got us tickets for the bus. And she just like looks at him. She's like, listen, thank you for being amazing. Cause you are
like
amazing.
Literally. Like,
and she's like, I have to face the music. I can't run away from my problems. I have to like, you know, deal with my family. You've been such a good person. Thank you so much for like being there for me and all this stuff. Like, it's just like, I don't know why.
I know.
This moment was so well done because especially for like, we're talking about Veronica and like the random relationship that they are having. Cheryl and Archie were together like for the last 2 episodes, and not that they're going through their own thing, and obviously like we knew that it was going to end based on like how Cheryl was like dealing with her ish, but I just feel like even though it was so short, the interaction between Cheryl and Archie is so rare. Like we never saw them like this in the other world. Like we never saw them interact in this like romantic space. And even though it's a lie, and even though like him just being a good friend to Cheryl, it echoes back to like her being saved by him in the final episode of season 1, like literally jumping into Sweetwater River and like saving this poor girl. And this is just Archie once again just doing his damnedest to save Cheryl. And it's so, I don't know, it just warmed my heart, made me feel all the good feelings. And so she says, one day you'll meet someone who deserves you. And she's like, wink, wink, maybe she lives right next door to you. So like literally just like bomb drops and says, by the way,
like
it's Betty. And Archie's like, what do you mean? Like, do you mean Betty? And she's like, yeah, maybe you should write Betty one of those sexy poems that you've been writing. Like, and he's like, cool, I think I will. It was just cute.
He's so cute.
It was cute, and I love that Cheryl was the matchmaker, like in this whole situation. Yeah, I loved it. Then it cuts to the dark room, and Cheryl shows up to talk to Tony. And it's another cute moment because it's not like they're embracing each other and she's gonna like make out with her and like now they're together. Because of course now CHONI fans are like, let's do this. It was just very subtle because like the next step is not for her to get into a lesbian relationship with Tony. It's for Cheryl to now take some time to find herself. So Tony's like, why don't you read this book for yourself, not for me, and tell me what you think. And the book is called The Cost of Pepper. I had to look it up because I was like, it looks like a real book. But it's not a real book. It is a spin-off of a real book called The Price of Salt, which is notoriously known as like a lesbian sexual awakening book.
Oh, okay.
Do you know the movie Carol, with Cate Blanchett? I think it was up for awards like
a couple years ago, right?
Like 5 years ago or something like that. It's based off of that book.
Oh, okay.
Like a lesbian relationship and like it's secret and it's like in that time period, like old school. Anyway, so that's the book that she's supposed to read. Cute. I thought it was really nice. What did you think of this moment? Like the fact that like they're not jumping into a relationship with each other.
Oh, I 100% loved it. And I'm like, I'm actually kind of shook at how wise our characters are in this universe.
Yeah.
Like I was prepared to get a bunch of toxic characters that like didn't know what they were doing, were like ill-advised, like they're all over the place, like, and that's not what we're getting at all. And like there's these really mature, really wise characters who I'm just shocked that we're getting these types of characters. Like really, I am.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised. Like it's just really, I don't know. I'm happy. I'm really happy to see it because you're right. Like it doesn't feel like they're high school characters at all.
No.
When you see these moments, you're like, oh, they're not being stupid. They're just like doing more mature things. Like it's interesting. It's interesting. Then it cuts to Archie getting home, and Mary's like, you over there at the door, come here.
Sit your ass down, boy.
Come here right now. Let's talk. And she says, I have someone to show you. And Uncle Frank is back, but now he has a mustache. That's it.
I was waiting for him to come back because I do feel like they needed to bring him back at some point. I think Mary's bugging that like he's like Archie's like losing it a little bit. Like he needs more discipline in his life. He needs like a father figure. I totally get it. Like you're raising a young boy, like you need a father figure, a stable, you know, man figure to like teach him these things. And like, especially after what just happened with him, like she's bugging a little bit. She's like, he needs another sort of guide in life, maybe.
Fair, but I don't know. Did Uncle Frank even really offer that in like
no? But maybe we'll see a different side of that. And he did a little bit. He did. He helped him with like the boxing and stuff. Like
sure, yeah, okay, yeah. I just want like introducing a character episode 4. Like why? What are you doing here? Like what are you gonna offer this story? Like I'm interested to see what he's gonna do because maybe Frank also came with trouble like last like when he was first introduced. So I'm just
maybe he'll have. So Alice did allude in the past to something with Frank in the other universe.
In the other universe. Yeah.
But what if there's some sort of tie in this one as well?
I like that.
I'm always trying to get Alice the D. I'm invested. I'm highly invested and committed and working full-time hours to get Alice the D. Like that's my job.
I love it. I love that could be, that's actually true.
I like that, right?
Yeah, I'm into that. I'm into that idea. So speaking of D, we cut to the Pembroke. And Veronica and Jughead are talking about Ethel and Sisters of Quiet Mercy. He's like, I feel like I failed her. Veronica's like, don't worry, bro. Like you did what you could. Like you're such a good guy. And
again, like they have this like moment where like what are we doing now? Oh, we're doing this now.
We're gonna kiss.
So what did you think about the kiss? Let's talk about the kiss.
I thought it was good. I thought it was a nice romantic kiss. Like it felt. It
was like a kiss that you're like, are we doing this?
Yeah. Very like let's get
before the next kiss, right? Like let's peck. Let's see if like
yeah, it didn't feel like overtly sexual. Yeah, no, it wasn't like we're being magnetized. Like we're so used to seeing at least Veronica as this like sexual animal. Like she's always into that. She's a passionate person. But this was very like sweet and innocent.
It was.
I don't know. It felt innocent and
it felt like it made sense for what it was because it's like that. It's really the first time when you're like, oh, okay, like we're here, we're in this moment. We like this. But then that second kiss is like kind of where it becomes more of like a more sexualized like kiss,
a thing,
you know?
Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a great way to end the episode.
Yeah. I ended that frame Veronica. Like when it showed like the R, I was like,
yeah, I was like that.
Oh. Like if you recorded my face, I was like, because I was like loving it too. I was like, oh my god, like I'm shook at how much I'm loving this. That's like what I
I thought it was great. I'm so interested to see what other people thought. Let's get into our
recap roundups. Best moment.
My best moment has to be all the Veronica moments because they were sprinkled across the entire episode, and we got these beautiful little like organic buildups of what we get to at the end of the episode. Huge smile on my face. Like I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun to watch. something that we didn't think that we were gonna like this much, and all of those were my best moments, like for sure.
So good.
Yeah.
My best moment is gonna go to that scene with Archie and Cheryl at the bus stop. I don't know why. It just hit me in a way that like just made me smile from ear to ear. It literally warmed my heart. I was just like, aww. I love Archie. Like, I just love that he's such a kind person. I love that it was recognized by Cheryl the way that she expressed it. The writing was fantastic. The acting was great. And it's such it really is such a random moment to choose as my best moment. But there was something about it that like really like, I don't know, it just made me happy. Just made me happy.
I also really appreciated, now that we've talked about this too, like I also really appreciated that Cheryl was the one to put a stop to it, because she really was the reason why they were even considering all of it, and kind of all like tumbled. And for her to be sort of the hero in her own story and say, no, like Archie, I'm not going to do this to you. Like, I'm not going to take your life into my hands. I need to figure out my own life. And I got this into the situation, and I'm going to take us out of it. And I really did appreciate that. And that it wasn't just Archie being like, no, like this is too much for me and I'm pulling out.
Right.
Like,
yeah, you know? Exactly. Yeah.
WTF moment.
WTF moment, it has to be the frog pregnancy test. Yeah. Like it has to be, because I was just like, what the like is going on?
What's even happening?
And yeah, but now that we know it was an actual thing, like in the 1940s and 50s, I was like, oh wow, okay.
Like fair, I guess. Still weird that they're like talking. Yeah. Why? It's mostly more than anything else. Like, why are they talking about fangs?
Yeah, and like, why is he knocking someone up? Like, what's gonna happen with the baby? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, we already know what happened to baby Anthony, so like, let's not go there again. Mine is Julian being a little bitch boy. I literally wrote that down. Him like finding out that
why was he being a bitch boy?
He like made out with Ethel, tried to like feel her up and like do all the damn thing. I was like, bro.
But like she should have known better. Like, don't get in a car with him.
No, I don't like I just didn't like he's a skis. And and that's the thing. Like, I know you were talking about like what his character is and like whether or not you like his character. I'm like, this is the reason. Like,
no, for
sucks.
Sure. Yeah.
Like and then he never like really comes back around. So like, why are you here? Like,
and then he has the audacity to say and then he has the audacity to be like, oh, I would never sleep with someone like that. Like,
I know, that's why I was like
but you did though. You tried though.
Yeah, you did it. So ew. Anyway, he sucks. I hated him this episode.
MVP.
My MVP is gonna be Veronica.
Yeah,
because of everything that we've said. This girl literally like freaking did a fixer-upper on Jughead's train car, and it looked amazing. And she was just such a good supportive like friend through all of this. So she really
she did a fixer-upper. She did a fixer-upper on her character. Like her character is like completely different, like 180 in my opinion. Yeah. Like, not a spoiled brat, not like a rat race girl, not like here for the money. Just like such a different side to Veronica
selfless.
that we've literally never seen ever. My MVP is CHONI, because I think that even though it was like she was like dipping her hands in a few pots this episode, she was helping out her boy Fangs, even though that season, like that storyline is random as fuck. She like literally found a frog and injected it. Like, she's doing the damn thing for her friends. And then that whole thing with Cheryl, like, girl, read a book. Like, don't run away. Like, giving her some knowledge and like just being there for her, in a CHONI way. And I'm excited to see what happens next with her.
Having said that, Tony's been there for every single person. I really hope there's a moment in this season where maybe Tony falls down a little bit and they all have to rally and like support
come together for her. Yeah. Oh my god, she was even there for Betty today.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like she's been there for everyone. And so it's like, I really hope we get a moment where like she is maybe a bit more vulnerable and like something happens and like they all have to like rally for her. I'd like to see that.
I love that.
Yeah.
LVP.
My LVP is the same as yours, and it's gonna go to our mommy Alice, because
she sucks.
She is the freaking gaslighter, and her whole it's just a phase line to Betty about Kevin. I was like, girl, no. Like, do better. Be better. I'm
Live
just
better.
so disappointed in Alice Cooper.
Just sucks. she's just so unlikable. She's so unlikable.
She
and
needs
I'm just
that good. That's for sure.
She like, and to your point,
next door.
Frank, wink.
The best line.
My best line was not the best line, but it was the cringiest line. That's for sure. It was from that guy, and he says, "And you, Mr. Andrews, you must remain faithful. It goes against our nature of men, of course, but a kind word, sympathetic ear, and a home-cooked meal can go a long way towards keeping a wandering eye in check." Fuck you, okay? Fuck you, disgusting piece of white shit. Like, actually, like, I was mad that like Cheryl didn't get more mad. Like, she's just like, true, like, yeah.
It was like a slow zoom on her face. She was like, fuck.
Yeah,
she was
like,
stressing out.
It's bad enough to see the whole housewife shit, but like then to say like we cheat, it's in our nature. So like,
yeah, I was like, damn,
get the fuck out of here. Like,
damn. Yeah, that was a pretty shitty line. My best line is between Veronica and Jughead. I'm all for an Annie reference, a musical reference, and he says, "I do feel like little orphan Annie in here." And Veronica says, "Which makes me who? Daddy Warbucks?" I was like, girl,
not her calling herself daddy.
She called herself daddy. After all this time, she's the daddy. She doesn't even need her daddy.
That's
I loved it. Obsessed.
That's the tea. But honestly, I freaking love them, and she wasted no time in responding with like that line. Like, when he said it, like, wasted no time.
It's just like the banter, like that's what I mean. Like they just have such a connection that was so cute. And I was like, and then I think it even goes further later on. He like when he walks into his train car and he's like, "Now I really feel like Annie. Like you really are like Daddy Warbucks."
He says, he's like, it's almost like the Orient Express without the murders. And she's like, ah, like good one. Like she understood what he said.
Yeah, she got what he meant. Yeah. All right, that is our roundups.
Our roundups. We have
some listener roundups.
Yeah, you want to do that one?
Yeah. At 25 on it, best moment, the Cheryl and Tony scene where she basically tells her to be honest about herself, and Betty and Tony scene, I guess at the very beginning when they have that like breakdown moment. WTF moment, Betty outing Kevin. When does she out Kevin? I guess to her mom when she says like,
maybe
Kevin was hugging a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, but like it wasn't a. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into the outing stuff, but okay. WTF moment, Betty outing Kevin. Best line, well, Midge, you're definitely preggers. Like after she sees like a million fucking eggs. MVP, Tony, LVP, Betty, Alice, Blossom family, and the writers for not allowing us to see Cheryl's POV, especially when we know the reason why she lied and wanted to marry Archie is because she's gay and scared. And I will say, I appreciate that. I always appreciate when we hear from our listeners, but did you miss that? Did you miss Cheryl's POV in this episode? Like her reason why she lied and why she was doing all the things?
But she said it. I feel like she did say it.
And we get it. We get it so many times, and it's so much more subtle that I don't think we needed to see it so much this episode. I like that it focused on different angles, but fair point. And I think we have some IG ones, right?
So there's on Twitter. I'll just read it now. It's from A Disneyland, and I shout out to this person for their best line is a screenshot from the episode. So good job for them to doing that research there. But best moment, Veronica kiss. It was tender and hot at the same time. WTF moment, the dinner on the Blossoms at the Blossoms house. I never seen so much red hair, people so uncomfortable around each other. MVP Jughead, that punch to Julian was satisfying.
Yes.
LVP Julian, the fat phobe. Oh my god, yeah.
Oh damn, yeah.
Fat phobe. And then best line, it was a screenshot of Clifford, whatever his name is. So tell me, Archie, what do you think of the Russia problem? It's funny. That's cute. And then there's another one that we just got on Twitter from Shannon Amanda. Best moment, CHONI locker scene. Love how Tony can always see through Cheryl's facade. WTF moment, frog pregnancy test. Like, what the F? MVP, Tony, her being everyone's life coach was everything, LOL. LVP, Alice. And then best line, would you do it? Not for me, but for yourself. Tony to Cheryl. Very cute. Then we have one on IG from Sierra N. Best moment, the conversation between CHONI in the locker room and the dark room. I think the way they are writing their reunion as a couple and build up is beautiful, and Madeline and Vanessa have incredible chemistry. For me right now, their characters and storyline is what's carrying the show. Damn, that's a big statement. Honorable. That's the one thing that I will disagree on. I think they're all carrying the season. I think the season is equally amazing on everyone's storyline. I will say that.
Yeah.
There's been moments in the seasons where I think certain ships carry a little bit, and I think CHONI definitely has in the past in some moments. But this season, 4 episodes in, they have all been amazing. Like each and every one of them.
Great job. Yeah.
Sure. Honorable mention to the Veronica kiss at the end. I am so glad that after 7 seasons, we are finally giving these two and their dynamic a chance. I know it won't last long, and I do miss Tabitha and want her back ASAP, but I do love these two together. MVP, Betty for standing her ground and finally breaking it off with Kevin, but for also not letting Alice's manipulation get to her. I'm glad she is the ally Kevin needs and isn't letting Alice warp her vision of Kevin's situation. So true, right?
Yeah.
Also, Veronica, she always shines when she's with characters we don't see her often with. Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I truly think anytime we get rid of Hiram and Archie from her storyline, she becomes a way more enjoyable character. Seeing her help Jughead was so fun and endearing, and I wish we got more of this in previous seasons. 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Best line, Archie, someday you're gonna make some girl happy, and maybe she lives, oh my god, I just got chills. I got so many chills. And maybe she lives right next door to you. When I tell you I screamed in excitement, oh my god, like BARCHIE really is that couple. And I love this rom-com-esque moment where Cheryl is giving Archie the push he needs to go for Betty and open his eyes to what's there for him. I'm so happy about this BARCHIE storyline and where it's going. WTF moment, just the way they handled Kevin's storyline this episode in general. The writers don't care about him and we aren't getting anything from his point of view. Where was that conversation with Clay? Where was any interaction between the two? He's clearly a prop in Betty's arc, and I think for tackling a dark time like the 50s, they are doing Kevin injustice yet again. I somewhat agree with that and I somewhat don't. I do think that, like we said, they missed a little bit of that, but I don't think they missed it. I do think they covered a little bit of that at the end with Betty and Kevin's conversation. And guys, it's not over. Maybe we're gonna get a whole like Clay episode and we'll get to see more of those interactions with Kevin. Like who's to say, right?
Exactly. Like I feel like there's still so much more to tell. Like every single time we say like I wish they did this, like they do in the next episode. So just wait.
Yeah, so we'll wait. And I do think Clay is gonna get that. He needs to get a good introduction episode so we know more about him.
Yeah, they can't just be holding hands and dating now. Like that kind of
And then we got one more from Marina. Best moment, it is difficult to choose a specific moment. In general, most of the talks between the different characters, whether they're couples, friends, or potential couples, how it was done is a rarity on the show. Different characters orbiting towards Tony, Betty, supporting Kevin, but at the same time, standing up for herself. Cheryl and Archie, and of course, Archie writing a poem to Betty. WTF moment, me being surprised at how the story between Veronica and Jughead is developing. I never thought I was going to like it, and I want more. The kiss at first was a bit weird, but also Kevin and Clay slow dancing. It was very cute, but it felt that from the episodes before to this one, some scenes were missing. Oh, it's so interesting that people are saying that too.
Yeah.
Tony injecting a frog to do a pregnancy test made me laugh too much. MVP, the actors somehow being between the ages of 25 to 30 are managing to give off the high school vibe, even though their physiques don't match. LVP, Sheriff Keller, and Alice. Keller, please do your job sometimes. Once again, a teenager handing over the evidence to exonerate possible suspects.
Useless.
Alice being Alice. All the seasons, although this season is the one that makes the most sense because we are in 1955, but it is getting old on me. Best line, Tony, eventually you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror and face who you really are. Otherwise, you'll just wither away. Veronica, I'm sorry, but is that cell gonna unlock itself? Because I'm a very busy teenager sheriff. Comment aside, and I don't want you to think or hope when Reggie appears as a new character. I think in episode 8, I hope that he will be interested in Betty, and I want to see a very jealous Archie. Oh,
ooh,
I kind of like that.
Interesting.
I kind of
different
like that
approach
a lot.
instead of like putting Veronica with Reggie.
And like it kind
like
of matches Betty's like vibe this season because like Betty's very sexualized this season. Like she's like hornified. Like she's
into it. Yeah.
So maybe that Reggie energy will also be like there'll be more of like that physical fire. But then maybe like she'll be like, no, like Archie's my guy. Oh, I like this. Good job.
Yeah, I like that. I like that for sure.
I like that. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys for your roundups. So much fun to always hear from you guys.
I know it's always so good to hear. I'm gonna close this off. I would like to take this time to thank our patrons of the episode, our Rewinder squad, Wyatt, Cliff, Hannah, and Julia, our lit rewinders, Tina, Ann, and Kate, and our mommy rewinders, Becca, Sarah, and Tamala.
Thank you guys. If you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind.
And also make sure you're checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. We're also on TikTok now. And also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.